Bush's former energy advisor and President Obama's president of foreign, you get to have a kind of a both views. So I guess I'm on the fence with Keystone. I used to believe that the president would eventually approve Keystone. I do believe Secretary Clinton, when she was the Secretary of State Department's in charge of the permitting process, was strongly supportive of Keystone. And I think it needs to be understood that, and as a Republican I'm a little ashamed to admit this, are we off the record? No. That it was as much Republicans in the state of Nebraska which have put roadblocks in front of Keystone as the White House, to be honest. But as time has gone by, President Obama has indicated he intends to make climate change his exit agenda item, #1. And with the Republican Senate and Congress, he's not going to have a lot to do in terms of legislating on things. So he's off on his own now, really. And the environmental community has made it very clear to President Obama that Keystone is the holy grail, the #1 symbol of his credibility when it comes to environmental issues. So therefore, I think the odds slightly favor it not being approved or just being delayed to death. The combination of the president not wanting to have him to make a difficult decision and the Nebraska court case offering him an opportunity to delay. Now, why I'm not very confident in that is because of the Senate takeover by the Republicans. There is some chance that the president will want to trade Keystone to the Republicans for something else. So it could be a bargaining chip. I don't count 67 votes in the Senate, which you need to override a veto. So if the president says no and vetoes a bill, you need 67 senators to override. I don't get there, even if the Republicans have 58 or 59 and what we'll end up with when Alaska's clarified. But I don't see that. So it would have to be a bargain. And on the one hand, the president may have an incentive to want to do a trade with the Republicans, especially if he got something. So that argues maybe there will be a deal. But I tend to lean to where it's now become almost a symbolic, metaphysical, cosmic issue, and it'll die that way. But let me ask Jason, what are your thoughts on that question?
Your answer presumes you're confident the president would veto a Keystone approval bill.
Right. So yeah, I'm assuming the president it's his call. He can't be railroaded, so he'll have to agree to make the trade or do it. And I'm saying slightly favor him saying, nah, it's an agenda item, it's legacy now, and the Nebraskans are kind of...
I mean, saying, denying the pipeline in the first instance is not quite as high a bar maybe as vetoing, and I guess it depends what the bill is attached to and what kind of package they put together. So I think I am. Okay, I'll come closer. So I think it's hard to predict if the administration will approve Keystone absent the Republican Congress. I think all along the administration probably was headed toward approval. The administration approved the Alberta Clipper pipeline from Canada to the U.S. and nobody noticed. And this issue has clearly taken on symbolic significance far in excess of any one particular pipeline, and so that's just the context in which you need to view it. It's probably a flip of a coin, maybe I'd say slightly toward the side of still approving it, but the odds are much lower now. I think the question is whether Congress now passes a bill, because now they control the floor in the Senate when it comes to the floor, and I think whether the president vetoes it, I think is an open question, and it depends how it's packaged, what else the bill is a part of, if, because you might just have to sort of you might just have to accept that for the other parts of whatever the bill is attached to, and tell the environmentalists you tried but you couldn't turn down extended funding for the government or something like that, so whatever the other thing is. So that, I think, may be the way this plays out, is the Republicans sort of forcing approval now. I think your other question was how big an impact it makes for the global oil market. I'm not sure it matters hugely. We're seeing dramatic increases in Canadian production. We're seeing huge volumes move to the U.S. by rail. At some point, you do start to face constraints, particularly because Canada genuinely has issues getting other routes built to the market. But I think in the long run, this is probably a difference of something getting pushed out a couple of years because there's just too much valuable resource in the ground not to figure out a way to bring it to market eventually, which is basically what the State Department Environmental Impact Review found. They found that the environmental impact of building the Keystone Pipeline was almost zero, because whether you build it or not, Canadian oil is still going to find a way to the global market. And that sort of is supported, I think, by what we've seen on the ground over the last several years in terms of Canadian production levels.